Basically, it's all about keeping things random, so participants have to call in every single morning.
Now, I talked to the Pennington County Republican chair. She told me she did invite all of the local legislative candidates, but there's so much more traffic during the rally that they actually keep between 6 and 8 people on staff here at the station.
So he sends it off to a local sign company, and they put on this pretty cool board.
And now city council members are expected to vote on an override of that veto. We were told yesterday that one of their goals was to keep the fire on the south side of Highway 18 here.
Just a couple weeks into production, Blue Sky is already in coolers at more than half a dozen Gillette retailers.
With 65 pounds of gear on, trust me, it gets hot in a hurry.
Now you can see drivers are absolutely just whizzing past me here, some of them a little too close for comfort. He cut down trees from the surrounding woods and actually milled them by himself on his own personal sawmill.
But over here, there's still a lot of this dry, crunchy grass.
The march was part of a protest against alcohol distributors in the small town selling to Oglala Sioux tribal members from the otherwise dry Pine Ridge Reservation. But the real demonstration started when they got to White Clay.
I know a lot of people. The only way our people are heard is when we take it to a drastic level.
Which is why 5 protesters from Deep Green Resistance locked arms in the middle of the road in White Clay.
They asked to give a little bit of time to settle the situation.
That was after the situation escalated to the point of arrests. One minor involved in the protest was cited for a weapons violation and released to his mother, but not before bystanders say they caught facefuls of pepper spray.
As I was filming from behind the cop car, the window came down and he held out his mace can and sprayed another youth right full in the face who wasn't a threat to him, who was just trying to talk to the officer.
One accidental victim, a 10-year-old boy.
Oh, that's a problem with deploying mace. You can't control it once it comes out of the container.
Collateral damage or not, Sheridan County Sheriff Terry Robbins says from the information he has, the use of pepper spray was probably justified.
Mace is not de-escalating.
That protesters say neither is pushing through crowds with a police cruiser. Regardless of the tension, though, the demonstration against liquor stores that some report move upwards of 12,000 cans of beer a day in just a 14-person town remained largely calm.
Keep it peaceful. I don't want to see none of our relatives, any more of us, go to jail.
But that's exactly what the protesters on the highway were prepared for.
You're in violation of a lawful order given by a Nebraska state trooper. As such, you're subject to arrest.
And troopers made good on that at around 8:15, about 7 hours after the protesters first sat down. And a protester on the scene tells us the 5 were arrested and carted off, still locked together in a horse trailer. Information on charges and where they're being held was not immediately available. Police responded at about 9:15 last night. When they got there, 58-year-old Brad Swanson told officers he had shot and killed his girlfriend.
When officers outside the apartment lost contact with Swanson.
There's one person that has control of the incident, and that's the suspect himself.
Lieutenant James Johns was called to the scene in the very early stages of their response.
We knew already that he had used a weapon against another person.
Thanks to a call from one of Swanson's family members. When the special response team entered apartment 3C on Woodrun Lane, they found Swanson and his live-in girlfriend, 55-year-old Deb Olmacher, with gunshot wounds. Both were pronounced dead at the scene.
It generally indicates that somebody's not, either suffering from depression or some significant mental illness.
Pennington County State's Attorney Glenn Brenner says the circumstances seem consistent with some sort of mental instability. Johns couldn't confirm a criminal history, but said Swanson, quote, is not unknown to the police department.
There isn't a prosecution or an investigation that needs to continue other than to get some answers as to why this occurred.
We've got a responsibility to make sure that everything is looked at.
A responsibility to the victims and to the community.
Maybe there's a lesson to be learned. Maybe there's something that can be applied to another relationship.
Now, I was at the scene earlier this afternoon, and investigators were going in and out of both the upstairs and downstairs doors, but weren't really bringing anything out with them. I did notice at least one of the orange numbers on the driveway was marking a shell casing, but it's still not clear how that fits into what happened. Helene? We'll have more on yesterday's tragic shooting coming up in just a bit, but first we turn to a heartwarming story from right here in Coda Territory. A little girl with a big heart bringing even bigger joy to a family who needed it.
Meet Kennedy.
And how old are you, Kennedy?
7.
7.
She had a mission today.
I had a couple ideas.
Like countless people across the country, Kennedy spent the morning Christmas shopping.
Want to get her one of these?
Mm-hmm.
The difference, she had never met the people she was shopping for. It all started 2 months ago with a tragedy.
We lost my brother-in-law, who was more like a son to me.
Arlie McClellan was just 18 years old when he died in a car crash near Dupree on October 12th. Carrie and Mariah McClellan's oldest daughter, Kennedy, wanted to help somehow.
The guidance counselor suggested maybe she do something in memory of her uncle.
Something the second grader took to a whole new level.
Any parent's dream is to have a little girl do something like this that could touch other people's lives.
With the help of Church Response, Kennedy's parents helped her find a family in need. Then she started raising money and didn't stop.
1, 2, 3. About $945 total.
She was even getting more donations while she was trying to spend the money she had already gotten.
Now you have $100 more. Go for it, girl.
She bought clothes.
I think this one would be good.
Toys.
This is kind of cool, Mom.
And gift cards for 5 kids living with their grandparents in a small apartment. The grand total, close to $1,000.
And you get 44 cents back.
2 hours later, the presents were wrapped and they were headed to their new home.
My heart was just pounding when we were walking down the hall.
I didn't know what they looked like or anything.
This is the little girl.
This is Kennedy.
Thank you, Kennedy. Thank you.
It was great sitting there watching them open the gifts, and everybody shed a tear.
Grandpa, I got new shoes.
Today we are very blessed. I never expected nothing like this to happen. You know, she's a little girl with a big heart.
What Christmas is all about is miracles. And Kennedy's our little miracle.
I know Arlie is smiling big from up in heaven.
And even though the kids did open most of their presents early this afternoon, and let's face it, who can blame them, Kennedy bought enough so they'd each have something to open on Christmas too. A day later, questions surface about the weather system that produced such serious damage.
We seen it coming from Nebraska, and we thought it was just a rain cloud coming.
But the clouds brought with them enough wind to destroy Macaw Moves Camp's home, as well as his mother's on the same lot.
It's just like somebody just blew us away, you know.
There were 10 people inside the mobile home at the time, the youngest 5 years old.
Bottom line is we're alive, you know. These are material things you see behind us. We can always replace them.
I'm standing here in the middle of where 2 homes stood just 24 hours ago. This porch and a few cinder blocks are all that survived.
That level of damage, along with the localized nature of it, has some wondering if a tornado and not just high winds blew through the area. The National Weather Service reports gusts up to 60 miles per hour, but says there wasn't any rotation on the radar.
I figured if there was damage, I wanted to document it.
So that's what Red Cloud school teacher Peter Hill did. He says it looks like the winds followed a path through a few homes and knocked down telephone poles on one side of the street, but not the other.
Lived out these parts for a long time, seen a lot of storms, and it's the worst damage I've ever seen from a storm.
Some displaced homeowners are staying with friends and family, while others, like Macaw, are being put up at the Prairie Wind Casino while they figure out how to dig out and start over.
The past 10 years of our lives gone in a second. It didn't break our spirits, it just broke our homes. And we'll be here again.
Several people were sent to the Pine Ridge Indian Health Services Hospital for monitoring, but the extent of their injuries is still unknown. The tribe will work with the Red Cross to clean up. It happens everywhere.
A lot of people don't move over.
Tow truck drivers standing on the side of the road, always in harm's way.
I've had to jump out of the way few times.
65-year-old Larry Schofield didn't get that chance. He was struck and killed by a drunk driver last Sunday.
Something I think about every day. I got kids at home, so...
Tow truck drivers from all over the region converged on Gillette today as a show of solidarity. Many of them had never even met the man they were honoring.
I just drove 250 miles to show support.
Nearly 100 cars, trucks, and wreckers joined in.
I'd sure like a turnout like this if something happened to me or one of my help.
Schofield was on the scene of another crash here at the on-ramp to eastbound Interstate 90 at exit 126. Police say 28-year-old Justin Helsper hit the man with his car and kept driving. I'm standing here at what amounts to the last opportunity for drivers coming onto the highway to get safely into the actual lanes. Now you can see drivers are absolutely just whizzing past me here, some of them a little too close for comfort.
You should have 4 sets of eyes, I mean, just to watch things.
Just drive safe out there. Watch out for the tow man.
Police caught up with Helsper a few miles down the road. A highway patrol spokesman told me the next day the driver was, quote, quite impaired.
We never know who's driving what vehicle and how they're driving.
Nothing we can say that makes this any better for the family and people, but we try to do something.
In Gillette, Chris Davis, Coda Territory News. 82 steps and almost 60 feet up, Karen Malloy stands and watches.
For the Northern Hills, I'm the tallest.
She looks for smoke.
And watch the weather because 99% of our fires are lightning caused.
Malloy, who, by the way, is afraid of heights, mans one of just 5 fire lookout towers still active in the Black Hills National Forest.
Warren Peak. It's kind of easy in a way because white smoke stands out real clear on the Black Hills.
But then comes the slightly harder part.
Once you see it, you got to find out, know where it's at, call dispatch so they can start sending people to it.
Now in her 7th season at the top of the cramped Warren Peak Tower, where she actually lives for the summer, Malloy says it's kind of like camping.
I don't even miss the internet or TV because I have all this for my views.
The only drawback, the bathroom is 82 steps away.
You have a good day. Warren Peak clear.
Near Sundance.
Okay, thank you.
Chris Davis, Coda Territory News.